I really was getting into your content, but the more I watch it, seems every video you make is riddled with inaccuracies, oversights, strange phrases and word choice, and it is baffling to hear from a native English speaker. You sound like you might still be in high school or middle school, so if that's the case, I guess you're doing really well. Considering the seriousness of the subject matter, it often sounds just like a little kid trying to see best on mediocre, but it's something that Dad knows about. Well, it appears that I must redeem myself. Clockman is a 1976 short that was on the Nickelodeon show Pinwheel for a very short time before never being shown again. The story behind Clockman is fascinating and was one of the first big breakthroughs of lost media being found and talked about here on YouTube. I'm pretty sure we have all seen the Blame It on George video at some point. The Clockman short has been found for roughly 5.5 years, but before January 12th, no one had any footage of the short and couldn't describe the short in too much detail, due to the short being so long gone and most people only describing suppressed memories of it. The search for it started when a user by the name of Commander Santa posted asking if anyone at all knew about or had footage of an old Nickelodeon short named Clockman. At first, a lot of people saw this as just a means of gaining attention and didn't believe Commander Santa to be telling the truth. However, a few people did respond saying that they themselves remembered the short. At some point, Commander Santa stated that he was sure that the short aired on the Nickelodeon show Pinwheel. However, Pinwheel had roughly almost 300 episodes to sift through to even get a chance to see if the short was real or not. People were so focused on finding the short that one of the main people to be looking for the short got into contact with Lois Fortune, who was an executive producer on Pinwheel, around the same time Clockman was supposed to air. However, she couldn't remember anything. But finally, after 5 years of searching, a YouTube video titled About Dressy Sally came about. And the video was posted by AAA Studios, the company that owned the Clockman short. The YouTube video was sent to Commander Santa, and he confirmed that this short was indeed Clockman. However, this short was not the English dub. It took roughly a month for the English dub to be found. And finally, after years of misinformation, red herrings, and defeat, one of, if not the most well-known lost media discovery was found here on YouTube. Crackmaster or Cracks was in a very similar boat to Clockman, where someone posted what they remembered of a short film, and this post sparked a huge amount of effort into finding a short that some people didn't even think existed. The short was supposedly featured on Sesame Street sometime from 1976 to 1978. The short consists of a young girl looking at her wall with cracks in it, and she starts to imagine the cracks forming into shapes like a camel, a monkey, and a hen, and then eventually a creature known as Crackmaster, which is where the short got its name before it was found out to simply be called Cracks. After some digging, it was found out that the short first aired during the 979th episode in 1977. Oddly enough, the person who first started looking and asking about this short randomly got a fax at work that simply said, "We have the copy," and if he promised to never show it online, he could have it. Months later, he received a DVD with the full short, and after lots and lots of speculation and, honestly, some very suspicious going-ons with this short, the founder of the Lost Media Wiki got an email with the full short sent to him. And that's how Cracks, or Crackmaster, was found. A pretty interesting story, but it's hard to talk about these found lost media stories without over-explaining since, well, we are on the first layer after all, and almost everything will be known by most of you. But on a side note, the name Crackmaster is not the best name to give to anything. "Oh yeah, you see that guy over there? Yeah, that's the Crackmaster. Oh yeah, yeah, you see that stripper over there? Yeah, that's the Crackmaster, buddy. Yeah, see that carpenter over there? Yeah, he is also known as the Crackmaster." Doctor Who is an immensely popular form of media, and the BBC show has been airing for a very, very long time, starting all the way back in 1963. However, back in the early days of the show, after an episode was aired once or multiple times, for specific reasons, the people behind the show would delete the episodes, whether it was due to lack of space or lack of broadcasting rights, or something along those lines. And BBC did this for a long time, roughly the span of 11 years, from 1967 to 1978. Almost 100 episodes are lost from the show's first 6 years. And although these episodes are lost, they aren't entirely lost. A big majority of the episodes were recorded at home by viewers, so the audio for these episodes remain. Not for all episodes, but a good majority of them. Some episodes have actually been found, but due to the fact that some episodes were wiped completely means that unless someone recorded these episodes or a copy was made, some episodes will never ever be fully found, because well, they simply just do not exist. Rude Removal is a notorious Dexter's Laboratory episode that was supposedly real but sounded more like an urban legend or a hoax due to the content that was in said episode. The whole idea behind Rude Removal was that Dexter and his sister Dee Dee get stuck in one of Dexter's new inventions, a machine that removes the rudeness out of someone. However, this rudeness creates clones of Dee Dee and Dexter, and these clones do some pretty bad stuff for a cartoon like Dexter's Lab. These clones curse, and I'm not joking when I say when I first heard about this episode I assumed it would have Dee Dee and Dexter say crap or damn or something like that. But no, I was mistaken. Throughout this episode, the Dee Dee and Dexter clones constantly drop the F-bomb. When it first aired, each curse word was of course bleeped, but still, that's pretty not okay for a kids show, so the network was forced to remove it. That is until speculation arose and people could have swore they saw an episode like this. Then the Chads at Adult Swim asked if people would actually like to see the episode, and of course everybody said yes. And so they delivered, and Adult Swim posted the original episode. The reason that this episode is labeled as partially found on the iceberg is because although the episode exists and has been uploaded, the unbleeped version has not. There are YouTube videos that replicate it being unbleeped by editing the video, but the real raw recordings of the voice actors cursing has not been released, so technically a little bit of the episode is still missing. I wouldn't say lost, but just unreleased. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I know little to nothing about Friday Night Funkin'. It's not my type of game and I never ever watched anyone play it, so my knowledge of what I'm about to say is not too good. So that's why this entry is going to be a little bit bare bones, so for that forgive me. I'd rather be upfront and honest than act like I know what I'm talking about. Friday Night Funkin' is a rhythm game that had a huge fan base and still does to this day. And of course, it being on the PC means all these fans of the game could in fact make mods, such as new songs, new characters, art styles, so on and so forth. But a lot of these mods were cancelled, and there could be many reasons for that, such as controversies or problems between the fan base and modders. A big reason this entry is probably on the list is due to the huge amount of mods that actually have been taken down or deleted. One of the biggest cases of an FNF mod being deleted was the Whitey mod, or Witty. This mod brought not only new songs, but also a new story and new art. However, the creator of the mod stated that the FNF fanbase was super toxic, and they no longer wanted to be a part of the community. So although videos of a lot of these mods exist, you can't play some of them. So unless they are re-released or someone still has them, they are lost. Mission in Snowdrift Land was a Nintendo Flash game that actually was very interesting. The game worked like an advent calendar, where each day leading up to Christmas a new level would be playable. And each level was based off of Nintendo games such as Zelda Twilight Princess and WarioWare. And when you did end up beating a level, you could get all types of goodies like a new Nintendo wallpaper or ringtone. However, since this was an advent calendar and it was a marketing strategy, at some point the game would disappear. The game, however, did come back in 2010 to celebrate WiiWare games. However, just like when it disappeared in 2007, the game yet again vanished in 2010. Then 8 years later, after no news about the game and most people forgetting about it, someone posted every single pixel art that was found in the game, which got people thinking, how on earth does this person have each asset to a game that has been lost for almost a decade? And it turns out that the game worked all year long, however you could only play if you had Wi-Fi, because the game would download levels each time you started them up. And the fact that you needed Wi-Fi meant at some point when those servers go down, the game would forever be unplayable, and that would mean it would be lost once more. But after a YouTuber by the name of Nick Robinson reached out to one of the creators of the game, they talked about preserving the game. The creator, along with the team and artists behind the game, went out and remade the game and ported it, so it'd forever be available. And as of right now, it's on Steam for only $7. Not only is it a pretty good platformer, but also has a really crazy lost media story behind it. A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants was a supposed mockumentary that centered around SpongeBob living above the water in Hollywood, and SpongeBob's boss runs a contest where whoever wins gets to spend a day with SpongeBob. The DVD was listed on Amazon and was set to come out in 2011, but never did. No videos or copies were ever found, and only one review was on the Amazon page, and it was 4 stars, and the reviewer simply said that the movie was great. It wasn't until 2015 where most people began to hear about the movie and tried looking for it. After people started digging, lots and lots of things were dug up. The picture of the kid on the box art was just a stock photo. The reviews at the top of the box were not real, they came from magazines that never even existed. And the publisher of the film, Innovism Films, never existed in the first place, and Innovism was just a fake name for Regal Films. And if you go to their main website, you can actually get a Trojan virus. And if all that isn't bad enough, this movie not only had nothing to do with Nickelodeon, but it just never existed, and most people think it was just made to make someone a quick buck, due to the resemblance of SpongeBob hoping to trick people into buying it. And this theory isn't far-fetched considering the sketchy nature of Regal Films. South Park is a show known for its dark humor, its nasty and grotesque and over-the-top jokes, and has stirred up a lot of drama over the years. But besides maybe the episodes where they constantly say the N-word, throughout the episodes, no other episodes probably got as much backlash as the 200 and 201 episode of South Park. These episodes were so crazy that they had worldwide coverage and even started threats of terrorism. The reason being is because in these 2 episodes, South Park depicts Muhammad. And in a lot of areas around the world, the rule is that no one is allowed to depict Muhammad, But the creators of South Park wanted to prove a point that nothing is off limits when it comes to humor. Everything is either okay or nothing is okay. However, Comedy Central did not want any problems, so they forced South Park to not show sections with Muhammad, instead just having a black screen with text that explains what would have been on screen. And anytime Muhammad is on screen, he was censored, which really defeats the whole message this episode was trying to go for. Then the episode 201 aired, and Comedy Central decided to ignore Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and anytime Muhammad was mentioned, his name was bleeped and his character was censored. And at the end of the episode, there's a long speech that is bleeped in its entirety, lasting almost a full minute of just a constant beep noise. These episodes were pulled off air and never ever will be shown on TV again, and the only way you can view them is through re-uploaded videos online or a specific box DVD. So although these episodes are banned in multiple places and will never be aired on TV again, the uncensored versions, especially of 201, still exist, and are available to view. The only censor that is still present is the Muhammad is still covered, but at least now every time they say his name it's not bleeped. SpongeBob All the Small Things music video is a video that uses character models from the SpongeBob game SpongeBob Lights Camera Pans, and was used during an MTV2 promotion. The video shows tons of SpongeBob characters dancing while the Blink-182 song All the Small Things plays. There isn't too much to say about this entry, but probably the biggest reason this video was lost for a while was not only did it air in the early 2000s, but Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, wasn't too happy with the video, even forcing the creators behind it to change things such as SpongeBob singing and playing the guitar because, quote, SpongeBob doesn't sing and SpongeBob doesn't play the guitar. I'm not too sure if it's a coincidence or the two are linked, but around the time this lost media was found, a TikTok audio went very viral, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard by now. The Evil Farming game was a piece of lost media where someone had a memory of a game similar to Harvest Moon, but unlike Harvest Moon, you kill your wife and hide her body from the police. Sounds like a great game! Someone came out asking if there ever was a game like this because they definitely remember this game and they needed help looking for it, and after many years the game was found. Well, kind of. You see, the person who originally brought this game up was a bit confused. They suffered from pretty bad insomnia and took medication to fall asleep. And on top of that, they would fall asleep to videos, and most of the time these videos were Vinesauce live streams, and someone came across this live stream clip.
It honestly, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like Harvest Moon, but with like corpses. It sounds like that'd be a fun game, just playing as Harvest Moon, but throughout all of the gameplay, you gotta hide a dead corpse. You know what? You know what? No, fuck. You know what it is? Harvest Moon. It's just regular Harvest Moon with your wife, and midway in the game, you have an argument with your wife, and you accidentally kill her with like a I don't know, like a saw blade. No, fuck it. You kill her with like a barbecue kebab rack. Like you impale her accidentally, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't mean that. And at the same time as you gotta like, you know, you gotta manage your farm, you know, raise your chickens and milk the cows. You also gotta like hide the body from the cops sometimes. From health security checks.
After this clip was found, it was sent to the person who asked about the game, and they confirmed that due to the medication and falling asleep to this stream, they must have dreamt the game up. So although this lost media turned out to never exist and was just a dream, the original post for this game got a lot of people thinking of a very similar yet different game. So although this farming / killing your wife simulator never was a real game, it seems as if there are a few games close to this idea. This entry refers to an Undertale demo that was removed and taken down that contains some differences from the main game and other demos, such as dialogue and some characters not even being seen or mentioned. The only people who have the demo were those who downloaded it when it was first available and never deleted it. And since a few people actually did keep the demo, this Undertale demo wasn't lost for too long. I don't have too much more to say about this entry because, well, there just isn't much to say. It's just a demo that was taken down and then re-uploaded by other people, and that's the end of the story. Super Mario 128 was a codename / tech demo for a Mario project that first started off as a sequel to Mario 64. The tech demo was a video of tons of little Marios running around to show the power of what Nintendo and their consoles could do. I wouldn't really call Mario 128 a cancelled game, rather it's more like a proof of concept. Although we never truly got a Mario game similar to this tech demo, we did actually get a game that uses this type of hardware. And that game of course was Pikmin. Mario 128 has a lot of misinformation, such as some people thinking the demo is what was shown in these videos, or that Mario 128 was strictly the Mario 64 sequel and nothing else. And however, some of this is half true. More or less, Mario 128 was a bunch of ideas and mechanics thrown against the wall to see if anything would stick. The full prototype is gone, and the only real thing we have left is video recordings of one of the first times this game was shown to the public. Hitagata is a supposed Japanese commercial that shows two white humanoid figures standing against a dark background. The creatures appear then disappear, and this is repeated till the commercial ends. This commercial, or PSA, was first talked about in 2006 and was posted on an anonymous message board called 2Channel. This message board was made to remember creepy and memorable TV commercials and PSAs. Although a few people have brought up and claimed that they have seen this commercial, no evidence has been found besides just word of mouth. Mock-ups of this commercial have been made, but no distinguishing proof has been found. As for what exactly this commercial's goal was in the first place is honestly kind of difficult to figure out, especially since the only reason we know of this PSA is due to word of mouth, so some people's testimonies contradict or don't line up with others. The first testimony in 2006 mentions that somehow the phrase, "every 2 seconds a man dies on Earth," is brought up. Besides this one detail, I'm not too sure about anything else, and for the most part, no one does either. Christine Chubbuck was a news reporter who became the first person to ever die live on air due to a suicide. This media is partially found because the audio of this broadcast has been released, but the actual footage has not. Now, I know some people believe that this audio I'm talking about is fake and is from the 2016 movie Christine. However, after watching the movie and comparing the two side by side, there are just way too many differences that prove that this audio is not from the movie. Now, this isn't me saying that this audio is 100% real. It could have been faked, but it definitely is not from the movie. But besides the audio, we do have what people recall seeing. The footage shows Christine reading a script during the morning news, which she never did mornings, so right off the bat this was a little odd. She seems to rush through the script, while still appearing calm. Before we know it, she heads off course and says this.
Was on the air. 30-year-old Chris Chubbuck is in critical condition tonight. Seconds before Ms. Chubbuck told WXLT TV viewers, in keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, you're going to see another first. Family members said Ms. Chubbuck had...
After this, the believed to be real audio ends, but what happened after was Christine was rushed to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, and sadly 14 hours later she was pronounced dead. Christine would constantly tell her family about her depression and issues with self-harm and but she never told them her plan about what she was going to do. This wasn't even her first time trying to kill, because in 1970 she tried to overdose on pills. In my opinion, this footage will most likely never be seen. Newt is a cancelled Disney Pixar movie that, if released, would have been the studio's 14th feature film, and would have had actors such as Ben Stiller, Clancy Brown, and William Shatner. As the film was slowly being worked on, the studio came up with an idea of emotions inside someone's head, and Newt was cancelled in favor of Inside Out. The story was going to be somewhat similar to Rio, where there's a male and female Newt, and they are the last remaining of their species. But oh no, they just cannot get along with each other. Although the full movie will never be seen, or at the very least the full original concept, a lot of concept art and music has been released. Yeah Yeah Beavis 1 was a rumored game that was advertised in newspapers and magazines for only 7 months in 1989. And then it was never seen nor advertised again. With most fake games or lost games, there are screenshots or tech demos or something that can link the game to being real. However, with Yeah Yeah Beavis 1, it seems that just the magazines are the only thing that shows that this game was even thought up in the first place. Some thought that Yeah Yeah Beavis was a bad translation of the game Pitfall 2, but this theory is a stretch to say the least. Other theories include it only being a placeholder name and nothing more. And the last big theory is that the game is a copyright trap. Copyright traps are where you put something fake into something you made so you are able to find people who copy you. Now it's hard to say if any of these theories are real, and Yeah Yeah Beavis 1 has no proof of being a real game, so sadly there isn't too much more I can talk about. Although if this game did surface, that would be incredibly cool. Doraemon is a Japanese manga series that is insanely popular. It has countless books and mangas, TV shows, movies, and obviously accessories. However, the first TV show about Doraemon first aired in 1979. Well, the first popular, well-known series came out in 1979. There actually was a 1973 show that aired from April 1st to September 30th. Then the series ended and was a manga till the 1979 show. Most remnants of the show have been found, such as the intro being almost fully restored. The reason the show is lost is because a lot of animators and people who worked on the show never got paid. So to pay off their debts, they had to sell things, including film reels. So for a good while, a lot of these films were gone, but of course with time, a lot of these found their way to the light. My favorite way an episode was found Super Mario 64 2 was obviously something a lot of people thought was going to happen, due to just how groundbreaking Mario 64 was. And it's not like this is an outlandish idea. Nintendo began to work on a sequel to the game, which started out as the Mario 128 tech demo I talked about earlier. And even in some interviews, Nintendo stated that they were working on a sequel to the game. It was planned to be for the Nintendo 64 disk drive, but obviously that was a failure, so they scrapped the idea pretty early in development. Some rumors came out, such as the sequel having 2 players and being able to play as different characters. And most likely, a lot of these rumors became true with Mario 64 DS. But sadly, besides a few ideas thrown around and statements by Nintendo, Mario 64 2 never was made. And since it was cancelled so early on, we don't really have any pictures or videos to show us maybe what the game could have been like. Subway Perfection was a commercial that aired in the mid-1990s and was talked about a lot, not only for its weird biblical and spiritual undertones, but also because it kinda sucked for being a commercial. I'm not too sure how long this commercial was lost for. I just believe that not too many people cared for the commercial, so no one cared to upload it to YouTube or other websites till someone ended up looking for it. A lot of people like to make fun of the ending due to how the man eats the sub and moans after he eats it. It's definitely a very strange way to promote your company's food.
O great seer, vessel of wisdom, voice of truth, I hunger for perfection.
And perfection can be yours. Take your hunger to Subway subs.
Subway subs.
There you'll find Subway's new roast chicken breast sub. Tender, succulent chicken roasted to the point of perfection, nestled in an oven-fresh roll, graced with Subway's universe of extras and the zesty glory of Pace's picante sauce. Absolute perfection.
Subway.
Roro-chan is a name many of you probably have heard before. The story behind this name is very upsetting and very unnerving. Roro-chan 1999 was a streamer who started when she was only 13 years old. Her videos were pretty harmless and normal, with her playing piano, singing, and dancing, and of course interacting with her viewers. Every once in a while though, she would do some more dangerous things like run through roads and dodge cars and sit atop very tall buildings. In November of 2013, when Roro-chan was 14, she livestreamed from atop of her 13-story apartment and was contemplating the jump. And sadly, she ended up doing it. Instantly, you can hear her scream as she falls. What's horrible about this situation is that most of her viewers were telling her to do it, and if she did, she would become a legend, which she spoke about in past live streams. Besides a few news outlets talking about her, she was forgotten, until a music video about her became extremely popular, and in a sick, twisted way, she did become a legend. You gotta love how icebergs will go from to Mean Girls DS. Mean Girls DS is a lost DS game based off of the movie Mean Girls. Wow. Who would have thought? The game is supposed to be a puzzle game, but when it comes to the story, it supposedly is pretty close to the plot of the movie. People really wanted to find this game, and they even contacted the customer support team for the company that made it, and they stated themselves that they have no info on the game besides what is already known online. The game was cancelled and it wasn't fully completed, so much like Mario 64 2, we most likely will never see much more about this game unless some old screenshots or test builds release. Sesame Street episode 847 was well known for being a little scary for children back when it aired in 1976. The episode was too scary because it featured the Wicked Witch, who actually was the same actress who played her in The Wizard of Oz. The episode scared children so bad that the episode was barely ever shown on TV, and was banned due to parents criticizing it. And this ban is what led to the episode being lost until roughly a year or so ago it was finally found and was uploaded pretty much everywhere. Now I'm not too sure why the iceberg refers to this as partially found, considering the full hour-long episode has been found and posted everywhere. So this could be a mistake, or it could be something I'm not fully understanding. So please let me know in the comments. I really would like to know. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood was a movie that came out in 2007, and although it came out in theaters, it was only shown for a limited time, and it had a major publishing problem and struggled to get released anywhere else. In 2012, it was remastered or remade and went with a very different feel and look. The 2007 movie was pretty grounded and seemed to go for a more realistic approach, while the 2012 movie seemed to be more bizarre, for a lack of a better word. A big reason problems started to arise with the movie was actually somewhat similar to what happened with South Park, where the movie and anime depicted something that was deemed offensive to the Islamic religion, and they were forced to change it and stop selling copies with this depiction in it. Some clips of the movie exist, most of them being recorded from inside the theaters, but the full movie has yet to see the light of day. This entry is exactly what it sounds like. A Burger King training game that was once lost and has been found, and it was for the CDI of all things. You know, the one with great games like Hotel Mario, the Legend of Zelda CDI games, and this godforsaken controller. The video is pretty simple. It goes over good customer service, hygiene, and so on and so forth. The weirdest thing about this is just the fact that it was on the CDI and wasn't a VHS or something like that. It's pretty interesting to watch, however, mostly because I know damn well that food was nasty. Or maybe it wasn't, I don't know. All I know is every time I've had Burger King, it literally gave me food poisoning, or at least horrible stomach pain. Krakatoa. I Was a Teenage Gary is an episode of SpongeBob where Squidward is tasked with watching Gary during a jellyfish convention. Squidward of course forgets about Gary and Gary becomes ill, resulting in him needing a shot. But instead of pricking Gary, SpongeBob is hit with the needle instead, and ends up turning into a snail through a pretty gross and even somewhat disturbing transformation scene. And later in the episode, Squidward also is pricked. Many people believe that Nickelodeon cut out an even more grotesque and disturbing scene, due to a strange scene transition that was very abrupt and off, and isn't like the other episode transitions. However, this is just false. This scene was confirmed not real, and this transition everyone thought was so unique was actually shown in a previous episode, Tea at the Tree Dome. It is fun to speculate what this transformation would look like, but besides just speculation, there was never and will never be anything more than just that. Our imagination. Smash Bros. Slam Fest was a real-life adaptation of the Smash Bros. Games. The event had a full-fledged ring, announcer, and people dressed up as the characters from the game. And this was all a marketing strategy for the game, and the event was live-streamed, which is pretty crazy for 1999. Even with all this though, no videos have ever been released, except somewhat recently a few pictures have been released that show the event and shows these people duking it out. The event actually did seem super fun, and if these pictures are just now being released, then just maybe more footage exists out there. But as for right now, this event is still mostly lost. Owen Hart was a very popular wrestler who sadly passed away due to a malfunction that happened during one of his wrestling matches. Owen Hart was known as the Blue Blazer. The Blue Blazer was a superhero type character that would tease and mess with other opponents. And to fit with this superhero persona, Owen would come down to the ring by flying. He was attached to a harness and was lowered down to the ring to make it appear as if he was flying or gliding. However, On May 23, 1999, Owen sadly fell from the harness and hit the floor. He didn't die on impact, but was in very critical condition, and medics tried to save him at the scene until they decided to rush him to a nearby hospital. This accident happened during an event where everything was being filmed live on air, and although footage was filmed, it was never shown. The film is actually still out there, but it's locked up for good, with rules stating that no one is allowed to view, destroy, or distribute the tape. Brandon Lee was a pretty well-known and respected actor, especially due to the fact that he was the son of the famous Bruce Lee. During filming of one of Brandon's new movies, The Crow, there was a scene where Brandon was supposed to get shot. Now obviously they wouldn't actually shoot you to make a scene look real, so they use real guns and blanks to make it appear as if the gun is real and is shooting a real bullet. And depending on what kind of shot they want to get, they also use dummy rounds. The difference between blanks and dummy rounds are that blanks are a cartridge with gunpowder and primer, but no bullet, so when activated no projectile can come out. Studios will use this to make the sound and make the flash, but without the bullet to hit anyone. Dummy rounds have a bullet but no primer or powder, and this is why Brandon died. Whoever was in charge of making these dummy rounds screwed up big time. Instead of getting rid of both the powder and primer, they only got rid of the powder. So when the gun was shot, the primer was activated, separating the bullet and lodging it into the barrel. After this, they wanted to film a different shooting scene, where they swapped the dummy rounds for blanks. And so with a bullet still in the barrel, and well, a blank having everything but the bullet, yeah, you can see where I'm getting with this. And obviously they were making a movie, so the scene was filmed, meaning Brandon's death was caught on camera. But just like Owen Hart's death, it will never be released. Not only because that's just not something people need to see, but also because of, well, respect for Brandon and his family. Camerahead is a pretty obscure creepypasta, and has gained a lot more attention due to it being lost for a good while. The story itself was never truly lost, but a video that went alongside it did. The video shows nothing but static for a majority of the video, except for a few scenes where things are shown through the static, such as kids on a swing and what appears to be something or someone walking through the woods. And at the end of the video there are multiple jump scares with creatures being shown. The video itself on YouTube has only 47,000 views, which for a creepypasta video from almost 15 years ago, that isn't that much. The Iceberg says that this creepypasta has partially been found, but it actually has been fully found since 2020. A lot of people, including myself, think that since this video was lost for a good while, it just adds to the unsettling nature of this story. At first, any link or archives to the original Camerahead thread was hard to come by, and the whole thread and original posting wasn't found. But the video was, and then later in October of 2020, an archived version of the original thread and post was found, resulting in the creepypasta Cameraheads to be lost no more. Batman Fights Dracula is an unauthorized movie from the Philippines that was first shown in 1967. It's stated that the film was only shown at movie theaters in the Philippines for a very short time before never being shown again. As of right now, the biggest thing we have to this film being found is an old blog post. This blog post gave several screenshots and a breakdown of the movie. Attempts to get the movie has happened, with some people reaching out to the cast and companies that worked on the film. But most of the cast members have sadly passed away, and most of the companies that worked on this film are just out of business. The movie is a comedy movie, and a few pictures of the movie show things you would expect from a Batman Dracula movie, such as a fight in a graveyard and Dracula in his coffin. Superman 1933, or also known as Reign of Superman, was a 1933 comic that surprisingly shows Superman as a villain. Now at first I thought this is what the iceberg was referring to because, well, it's a Superman comic from 1933. It kinda makes sense. However, after a bit more digging, I'm pretty sure the iceberg refers to what happened after this Reign of Superman comic. Because Reign of Superman is very much found, with it being all over the internet and being available in physical form, but it's just very, very rare and very expensive. I'm pretty sure the iceberg is referring to the next Superman appearance, which many would say is 1938 with issue 1. However, before this, the creator of Superman wanted to make him a superhero, and went to multiple publishers with a comic they wanted to be made. However, they were turned down again and again. And it's stated that after being extremely upset with lack of progress, the comic was thrown into a fire out of rage. And supposedly this comic was different from the first 1938 issue, so it has been lost. Now I'm not too positive on this, there are a lot of different stories and I could be wrong with this information, so if I am, I apologize. And this entry could very well be just referring to the Reign of Superman comic. However, if it is, I'm not too sure why it's considered fully lost when it's available in many places. Cannibal Holocaust is probably one of the most well-recognized movies when it comes to movies that are over the top with horrible content and scenes. The movie was so bad, in fact, it was banned in the US for 5 years. The movie was first released in 1980 and has scenes of people killing real animals such as turtles, and showing some very, very gruesome scenes. However, one of these scenes never made it into the movie. The scene in question is the piranha scene. As of right now, the only real proof we have that this scene exists, besides word of mouth, is a still image of someone being lowered into water that supposedly has piranhas in it. The scene was scrapped due to the piranhas being difficult to work with, and on top of this, the underwater cameras used for filming were malfunctioning, so the scene was never finished. And although some people claim the scene was used in different releases of the movie, this was proven to be inaccurate. So as of right now, all we have are 2 slightly different pictures of the scene, and more than likely any footage that was filmed is no more. VB Mario Land was a Virtual Boy game that was supposed to release but never did. The game was a side-scroller 2D game with 3D aspects, such as moving between the background and foreground. Not much of the game has been released besides some screenshots, and in 1995 a playable demo was released at the Winter Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. More than likely, the game was cancelled due to the failure of the Virtual Boy. This cancelled Virtual Boy Mario game was also from time to time called Mario Adventure. Mickey and Minnie Mouse sex tape refers to a story about Walt Disney's 35th birthday, and how 2 animators thought it would be the funniest thing to surprise Walt at his birthday party with an animation of them having sex. After finding out who created the short, Disney fired them and made sure every copy was destroyed. This is a pretty interesting story, and although it's not 100% known if it actually happened or not, I think it's really funny. And technically, there could be a very slight possibility that an existing copy or some sort of proof that this happened still exists. But sadly, only time will tell with this one. Origin of the bruh sound effect was a little more difficult to find than I thought it would be, because while researching, the only thing I could find was the popular first video to go alongside the sound effect, not the origins of the actual sound. But after some digging, I'm pretty sure the origins of it is by, and I know I'm going to butcher this name, so I'm sorry, Head Graphics. Apparently the original audio comes from a clip of his wife, then cutting to a scene from Passion of the Christ. Even with context, hearing it from the original video still sounds very strange and like it doesn't belong. The iceberg states that the bruh sound effect origin hasn't been found, but the creator of the iceberg just made a mistake and didn't realize that it actually has been found. Oddly enough, another Batman versus some popular monster, this time with the kaiju Godzilla. Batman Meets Godzilla was a movie that was never made, and was only planned, and the planned release date was 1965 to 1968. The movie would not have been canon for the Batman lore or Godzilla lore, and sadly, since the movie never even began to be made, there isn't much to talk about. The plot was going to center around a meteorologist being the main villain, summoning Godzilla from a trench. The ending would have Batman and Robin and Batgirl fight Godzilla in their vehicles. Interesting enough, as I'm writing the script, an actual comic is set to come out in October of this year called Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong. So I guess 6 decades later we finally have a Batman vs. Godzilla, but sadly not in the way we imagined. Blame It on George or Blame It on Jorge is a pretty popular YouTuber who makes long-form essays and top 10s and even iceberg videos. During 2013 and 2014, George took down videos that he either wasn't proud of or took them down for other reasons. Most of these videos ended up being found due to the use of the Wayback Machine, but a few videos actually have not been found. Now, if these videos were simply private or unlisted, George could easily re-upload the videos or at least state if they were still around or not. But if he permanently deleted the videos, then that's a different story. A lot of his old private videos are actually up for members to watch if you pay a subscription to his channel. The Basement Tapes are a collection of mostly destroyed home videos that Columbine's Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold filmed leading up to the gruesome shooting. Other videos show what could be school projects or something similar in nature. Watching these videos is very unsettling, not only knowing what would end up unfolding, but just the presence Eric and Dylan had on camera was very unsettling. Black Friday Reel was a different approach to Pixar's movie Toy Story, where a lot of the characters, mainly Woody, had a very different approach with who they were as a character. Woody in particular coming off as super dickish, rude, and selfish. And some of these attributes did make it into the final movie, however these characteristics were severely toned down. From what I could find, the Black Friday Reel was a storyboard, but I could not get a definitive length or how long the storyboard was. The documentary called Black Friday, The Toy Story You Never Saw, shows a few clips of the reel, mostly with Buzz getting knocked out of the window. There supposedly was also another part that was an alternative take on the birthday party scene, but no one has yet to see this specific footage. Sailor Mouth is a very popular SpongeBob episode, where SpongeBob and Patrick come across curse words written on a dumpster. And due to SpongeBob and Patrick's naivety, they think they are words to spice up their vocabulary, so they start going around saying these words to people. In the actual script for this episode, the voice actors were supposed to say made-up words, which proved to be more difficult than it seemed, so they ended up actually cursing and the episode bleeped it out. There are many videos online that claim they have the uncensored version, but all are very clearly edited or obviously not the original transcripts. In an interview, the voice of SpongeBob, Tom Kenny, made it very clear that no one will ever hear the original audio. Steve Irwin is a very well-known and respected animal activist who owned his own zoo and did countless documentaries on all kinds of animals. His goal in life was to teach as many people as possible about animals, and to show that animals are misunderstood and should be loved and appreciated. Sadly, during a filming about stingrays, something went horribly wrong. Steve instructed his cameraman to keep filming no matter what happened, and so they did. While Steve was swimming around, a stingray stabbed Steve with his barb, leading to Steve's death. It's stated that one of Steve's final words were, "I'm dying." Since the whole thing was a video for a documentary, his entire death was filmed. However, the footage was given to Steve's family, and they wanted no way on earth for this footage to ever be seen, so the film was destroyed. Now Steve's family, especially his son, lived to be in his footsteps, which is all Steve ever wanted in life.
Is there anything in this world that would want to make me give away what I'm doing now? Yes. Yes, there is. When my children can take the football that I call wildlife conservation and run it up. When they're ready to run up our mission, I will gladly step aside. And I guarantee you it'll be the proudest moment of my life. And my job will be done like my mum and my dad. That, and only then, then and only then will I know that I have achieved my ultimate goal. To be able to stand aside and let them run up my mission. Because that's what I did for my mum and dad, and I'm really proud to tell you that. By crikey, I got tears flowing out, and I'm holding them back. I'm trying so hard to hold them back, but I'm just doing what they wanted me to do. They created a wildlife warrior. I am that. And they were able to stand aside to varying degrees, and I'm able to run that ball up, mate. I'm running it up. You know what? The opposition's hard and it keeps coming, but I ain't stopping until my kids can run it up for me, and then I'll stand aside like my dad.
Superman 64 is a notoriously bad game with horrible controls, horrible design, and pretty much everything about it sucks. But when it comes to the PlayStation build, it's very apparent that they had more time to work on the game and more space and stronger hardware. The game looks just so much better and has a lot of changes that in some ways make it a completely different game. From my knowledge, the game only exists as a ROM and never was officially distributed because the game was cancelled due to the creators losing the rights to Superman. The ISO was uploaded at some point, and now the game is available online. Donkey Kong vs. Super Wario is a very early build and concept idea for what would end up being Donkey Kong Country. No one knew about this idea until an employee of Rare, the people behind Donkey Kong Country, posted on Instagram. What they posted was a red book-like thing with gold text reading Donkey Kong vs. Super Wario. The concept was basically that Wario would be the overall villain of the game, but this idea with many others were scrapped early on. To be fair, this concept was just that, a concept. I'm pretty sure nothing was made playable, so I guess people knowing about this concept counts as it being found. Mickey Mouse in Vietnam is a short about, well, would you believe me if I told you? It was about Mickey Mouse in Vietnam. The short starts with Mickey walking past an ad about joining the army, and Mickey decides to join and ends up going to Vietnam before getting shot in the head and dying. The real name of the episode is called Short Subject, and although this seems like a crazy thing for Mickey to be in the early days this was somewhat normal. There's even a 1943 short centered around Donald Duck and Nazis. Although somewhat disturbing, I can't help but to be somewhat fascinated with these shorts because they show such a different point of view for these times. For those who don't know, Metroid Dread was originally going to be for the Nintendo DS before getting cancelled and eventually getting released on the Nintendo Switch not too long ago. The concept for the game was brought up in the early 2000s, but due to technical limitations, the game was scrapped, and most likely due to the lack of Metroid in recent years, the game was brought back and eventually made for the Switch. The game has gotten a lot of love and is considered to be a great addition to the series, and it's a great game to hold everyone back till Metroid Prime 4 comes out. You know, if it ever does. SCP-173 was the very first SCP character, and not only started the whole SCP Foundation, but also started a whole different kind of horror. The original post was formatted like a creepypasta, talking about how to contain this creature that moves when not being looked at. The post was shortly deleted and was lost for over a decade before finally being found again. The post for this character was around the same time the Weeping Angels were introduced on Doctor Who, which would explain the abilities this SCP has. Cosmic Rush 2.0 is a Sonic the Hedgehog fan game centered around Tails, and is a sequel to an endless runner game called Cosmic Rush. Cosmic Rush 2.0 was a different style, with it being a 2D side-scroller. The game had a lot of hype around it for only being a 3D spin-off Flash game. However, sadly, after some promises for new features being added and different screenshots and mock-ups, the game never got updated, and the demo was taken down. It was gone for a while and some attempts were made to find it, such as some people reaching out to the creator of the game, asking if they still had the files, but sadly they did not. It wasn't for a while later that the game was found on someone's old Windows PC, since they had downloaded it years prior, and the game was finally re-released and can be downloaded right now. If you have been on the internet for more than a year, you most likely know who Jeff the Killer is. Jeff the Killer was a huge creepypasta, and jump-started tons of other creepypasta monsters. The picture is very well known and recognizable, being almost on par with Slender Man status. The picture is well known, but what's even crazier than the picture's widespread popularity is the origins of the picture. For a while, many people believed that the first creepypasta about Jeff the Killer was the original. However, as people kept looking, they slowly found appearances earlier and earlier. His first YouTube appearance was in 2007, with a random Japanese video titled NNN. The video appears to be an end credit scene for most of the video, until the end shows a creepy baby and, of course, Jeff the Killer. But this was just the beginning. After more research, this picture was found all over the Japanese internet from 2004-ish to 2005. This picture of Jeff the Killer is known as white powder, and there has been a lot of debate on what this photo was before being edited, but as of right now, it is not fully known. But there is a huge debate going on if it's about this person. People are quick to point out similar features such as a similar face shape, similar marks, and so on and so forth. This paired with the fact that this girl was on Japanese websites around the time this image was said to be created makes it seem that this could be the girl. However, some people think that it can't possibly be her because she doesn't show her gums the same way they are shown in the white powder picture. It is a very interesting rabbit hole, and I'm longing for a day we see a perfect side-by-side picture of the Jeff the Killer image and the original unedited photo. Cleopatra is a 1917 silent film that has been lost for a very, very long time. The film is roughly 2.5 hours long, and as of right now, only a minute has been found. Originally, only 20 seconds were found, but as I'm writing this script, about 2 weeks ago someone bought a fragment of the movie off eBay, and they released it on YouTube, adding an additional 40 seconds. The main reason this movie is lost is due to fires that destroyed not only this movie but others as well. When the movie came out, Cleopatra was a huge success, and the movie was considered one of the most expensive and elaborate movies of that time. The first version of the game Yume Nikki was from 2004, June 26th, and was released as version 0.0.0. Yume Nikki is a strange game with how it gained popularity. As the game was being updated and new release after new release was posted, no one really knew about the game since the game didn't get popular until a good while after the full release. So a lot of the early builds or updates were never archived, which is why a lot of these early builds are lost. As of right now, the earliest build of the game that is available to the public is version 0.04. The way some of these older builds were found were mostly from magazines and blog posts about the game before it was finished. Also, as a side note, this doesn't have much to do with the game being lost, but I did end up playing the game for the first time a couple months back. And I gotta say, although incredibly strange and cryptic, the game is very fun and I see why it has such a big following. Mother 3, or Earthbound outside of Japan, is a long-lost game that went through development hell and spanned multiple consoles and delays and cancelizations. The game first started as a Super Famicom game, but the game surpassed what the console was capable of, and so focus was brought onto the Nintendo 64, then later the disc drive for the console. The game was promised and announced outside of Japan as Earthbound 64, and sadly it was cancelled when the game was already halfway completed. It was cancelled due to the fact that the new Nintendo GameCube was going to be coming out very soon. And after tons of delays and mishaps, the game was finally released. Well, kind of. It was released for the Game Boy Advance and never came out anywhere besides Japan. The Family Guy pilot is not the original first aired episode, Death Has a Shadow. Instead, it's a very low budget 30-minute special that was animated by Seth MacFarlane from his house. Most half-hour pilots have a budget of $1 million, but Family Guy had a budget of $50,000, and that's it. The first 7 minutes of the pilot have been found due to it being featured in a DVD released in 2003. The rest of the pilot is covered with a coming soon bumper, and sadly that's all we have of the pilot. Other mentions of the pilot are still around, such as different magazines talking about the show and interviews with Seth. But interesting enough, it's said that the full pilot was online for a while and available to download, but those links and videos have been taken down and are no more. Donkey Kong Racing was set to be a sequel to the pretty popular Diddy Kong Racing from the Nintendo 64. The game was set to release in 2002 and was even shown at E3 2001. However, Nintendo was not funding the company with nearly enough money to finish products. Rare went to Nintendo and offered their company, but Nintendo denied them, with Rare ending up being bought by Microsoft. The game was still in development by Rare, just not using Donkey Kong and not being on the GameCube. The game that Donkey Kong Racing turned into was Saberman Stampede, which sadly that game was also cancelled in 2005. Joker bathtub scene refers to a cut scene from the 2019 film Joker. The scene was cut due to it being too crazy or too much for an R-rated movie. We don't know much about the scene besides that it took place in a bathtub, and it most likely involved nudity. I've seen a few people speculate that the scene was cut due to nudity, others claim it was for lots of gore. It seems that the scene was improvised by the actor who played Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, so it's hard to think that he could improvise a scene with gore without having the makeup department or special effects team in on the scene. So yes, it could have been gore or self-harm related, but it most likely was either nudity or some really messed up stuff that I can't even think of what it could be. The Flintstones is a very well known and recognizable family, being not only a TV show, but also being a very recognizable brand, being used for cereals and of course gummies. A new Flintstone TV show reboot was announced a couple years ago, but never ended up releasing, and no real footage besides some concept pictures have been shown. However, it seems that the show is still in works and is titled Meet the Flintstones, and it will center around an adult Pebbles, and the show will be more catered towards adults. If the show comes out, I'm very interested to see what it has to offer. I just pray and hope that it is in no way similar to the adult Scooby-Doo reboot. That was legit one of the worst things I've ever witnessed, and I wish I could take that viewing experience back. Billy Mays is well known for his as seen on TV commercials, and his partnerships with OxyClean, Zorbies, and Kaboom. Sadly, Billy died pretty suddenly in 2009 due to high blood pressure. Billy May became very popular due to the internet and memes, and so he did film tons and tons of commercials. However, some of them never aired, and were never posted. Some due to the fact of his sudden death, and others due to them being filmed early in his commercial days. A good portion of his lost commercials were found, with one of the earliest being from 1983, and even a full 30-minute infomercial for OxyClean was found. Yoshi Racing was a prototype video game shown to Nintendo by a British video game company that was a pitch for a 3D platformer. The company asked for Nintendo's blessing, which they ended up denying, claiming that it was too risky to trust an outside developer with such a new concept. As we all know, Nintendo later came out with Mario 64, and they even used some ideas that were pitched to them by the outside studio, which thankfully Shigeru Miyamoto apologized for. Return of Donkey Kong is in the same boat as Yeah Yeah Beavis, due to it not necessarily ever being announced, and the only proof of it existing comes from publication. When it comes to Return of Donkey Kong, the publications were from 1997 to 1998. All we know of the game is that it most likely would have had similar gameplay to the past Donkey Kong games, and Donkey Kong himself would have been a playable character. Jung-Hoo Cho is the person behind the Virginia Tech school shooting that took place in 2007. Sadly, in this horrible shooting, 32 people were murdered, and another 23 were injured. Cho reportedly sent a media package to NBC that contained images, pages upon pages of writings, and even a 25-minute video of himself. However, NBC only released some of his writings and about 2 minutes of his video. And as of right now, it's said that the rest of his videos and the rest of his writings are still in the possession of NBC. In the TV show King of the Hill, there was a very popular urban legend that revolved around the show and one of its episodes. In the episode Pygmalion, it's stated that at the end of the episode, we see a bloody corpse of one of the characters hanging from a meat hook after being killed. This urban legend could have started due to the episode being banned for being too dark, but after multiple original airings were posted online, it was found that this was all a hoax and indeed was never true. During the release of the first Shrek movie, it stated that DreamWorks collaborated with HP for a camera commercial. Although the Iceberg states that this has been partially found, the Lost Media Wiki claims the ad has not been confirmed real, so it's hard to say for sure if the ad has ever been made. However, some details have came out to make it seem like it did happen, such as the supervisor of DreamWorks at the time stated he did indeed remember the picture of Shrek holding the camera, but he couldn't remember anything about an ad, and if there was one, what it entailed. The Angry Video Game Nerd is a pretty well-known YouTube show that centers around, well, an angry video game nerd, who will review games and make jokes, skits, and all in all make fun of bad games, most of them being older releases. In one of his reviews, he talks about an older Who Framed Roger Rabbit game, where at the end of the video, the Angry Video Game Nerd goes on a rant about things he would much rather do than play the game, which ended up being cut from the video. The rant was cut from the video due to a technical glitch that left the audio mute for the whole video, so they could not use the footage. Game Over is a somewhat popular YouTube series that uses the characters from Super Mario, such as Mario and Luigi. The episodes are very dark due to them consisting of pretty harsh subject matters, such as death and suicide and depression. Episodes 3 and 4 were deleted from YouTube in 2011, and it wasn't until 2017 the episodes were re-uploaded by a different account. The original episodes gained millions of views before being taken down. Go for a Punch, or also known as Sake Senabashi, is an anime myth that is about girls that end up getting locked in a bathroom, with no way to escape, with them slowly starving and going insane. I know, right? Sounds like a great show. Can't wait for there to be over 1,000 episodes made. The show gained popularity for a while, with people searching high and low for any proof of it existing, which of course they found none. As of right now, the anime is just an urban legend. Although some people have came forward and made concepts of the anime, and some do look pretty good. Fox Kids King of the Hill refers to a supposed version of King of the Hill that would have aired on Fox Kids, and would have been more catered towards children and teens. This was first thought to be true due to King of the Hill being promoted on Fox Kids once or twice, which led people to thinking there was a kids version. Now, King of the Hill isn't super bad, most teens should be able to watch it, but there was definitely room to tone down some jokes and ideas for a younger audience. It turns out that the few times King of the Hill was shown on Fox Kids, it was just to advertise the show to more people. And when people saw this, they thought it was a possible kids version rather than the normal version. This is me after editing the video. I felt I should chime in and say that this entry isn't necessarily referring to a kid's version of the show, and maybe was more or less referring to the show just being on Fox Kids. That's my bad, I apologize for that. Continue with the video, and by the way, thanks for being here if you're this far into the video. The Butcher was supposed to be a live-action puppet short that was on Nickelodeon that used real animal bones. The idea about the short existing came to light when someone online claimed to remember a somewhat creepy live-action short that used real bones. After a lot of searching, not much was found. However, a short film titled Butcher's Hook could have been the film in question. However, it was missing some details that were in the original explanation of the film. As of right now, the film still has not been found, and the legitimacy of it is still unknown. Man, when you make videos about this kind of stuff, you end up saying some strange things. Him is a 1974 gay porn film that centers around Jesus Christ. The film at first was thought to be fake, however, after some reviews and advertisements and the actual actor who portrayed Jesus was found, the film was deemed lost instead of fake. The film got a lot of attention in 1980 for it being featured in the Golden Turkey Awards. I'm not too sure if the film will ever be found, but I'm sure someone out there has a recording of it. And if not, I'm going to be a little surprised. I don't know if it's me, but I feel like I've talked about a lot of Donkey Kong on this list. But you know what they say, there's no such thing as too much Donkey Kong. Much like Zelda CDI and Hotel Mario, Donkey Kong was said to appear on the Philips CDI as well. Not much is known about how the game would play, but based off the other CDI games, probably not very good. The biggest proof we have of this game being real is a promotional poster for the CDI, claiming that they signed all the biggest gaming characters for the console, which include Mario, Link, Zelda, and Donkey Kong. It's not too far-fetched that Donkey Kong would have also appeared. Super Hornio Bros is a film that stars the Super Mario Brothers. Obviously this film was not produced by Nintendo and was made behind their backs, but funny enough, after the film was made and distributed, Nintendo bought the film to stop all productions of it. So technically, Super Hornio Brothers is a Nintendo-owned porno. Super Hornio Bros. 1 has been fully found with a simple Google search leading to the film.
Hey, it's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like.
Magical Girl Ryan-chan is a partially lost anime that was a partnership between China and Japan. The plot of the show and manga was that 3 girls gain magical powers from a Hello Kitty plush doll. As of right now, only a little bit of the Chinese and Japanese mangas have been found, such as the cover of the mangas. As for the show, no known home release has been found, so only small clips of the show have surfaced, such as the opening scene and the transformation scene. Mario Takes America was an educational Mario game for the Philips CDI that would take players around the United States showing off places and landmarks. Once the game was pitched to Philips, they were impressed and started funding the game, but after progress started to slow down and the performance of the game was lackluster due to the videos being used being difficult for the CDI to handle, and because of this, funding was cut and the game was cancelled. It is known that all the footage used in the game is in possession of one of the developers, but they will not release it without the proper permission. The Iceberg states that this Mario game has not been confirmed real or not. I have a hunch the game can now be considered real. Obaki no Kyutaro, or Little Ghost Kyutaro, is an anime with both a Japanese and Chinese dub, and this anime was created by the same person who made Doraemon. The reason the show has an alleged English dub is due to a picture of a TV channel schedule that says at 6 o'clock the anime would be shown. This picture was taken from a broadcast from California, so it makes sense that it would be in English. Some people speculate, however, that if this is real and the show was indeed shown, it could have been the Japanese or Chinese dub and that's it. But as of right now, this English dub has yet to be confirmed real. 1-900-490 Freak was a 190 number that was used during the late 1980s to the mid 1990s for a commercial for a character known as Freddy Freak. If one called this number, you could do all sorts of things such as record raps and messages and listen to pre-recorded messages as well. Freddy Freak became very popular around this time, with many people calling the number and seeing what all the hype was about. Almost all these recordings were stored on tapes, and these tapes are still in storage and have yet to be released. But if they are actually still in storage, there is a good chance we will hear them at some point. The Bro Explaining meme originated in 2011 and is a picture of a man in sunglasses talking to a blonde girl in a white top at some kind of sporting event, most likely a Houston Astros game. The picture became very popular for a good while, and as for why this is considered lost, I think where the picture came from is known, but what the man was talking about isn't. I could be wrong with this, but if we already have the picture and most likely the location, it only makes sense for that to be what is technically lost about the meme. But like I said, I could be wrong. If I am, please let me know. Absolutely Disgusting is a reaction image that shows a news reporter standing outside with a banner underneath him that says Absolutely Disgusting. Although a good bunch of general information is known about the meme, such as the news channel was on and the location, the context behind the picture is unknown, and no one has found the original clip. There definitely has been searches, but there would be over 4,000 episodes or broadcasts from this news channel alone to find this exact clip, and most of these broadcasts are not widely available. Arirang is a lost silent film that originated from Korea. The film is most likely gone forever due to any remaining copies probably being destroyed in the Korean War. The plot of the film is about a man who becomes mentally ill after being tortured and held captive by the Japanese police, and ends up killing another man out of blinding rage after they rape his sister. Little to nothing about the film is known besides the plot and the original poster of the movie, and that it was released in 1926. BBC Election Night refers to lost broadcasts of the BBC from 1950 to 1951, where they would broadcast during elections. Prior to 1950, this was all done over the radio, which some audio from these radio recordings have been found. But the first broadcast for the first year or so of the BBC Election Night broadcast has not been found. Chunhaojong was the first ever Korean sound film and was released in 1935. As of right now, only a still of the movie exists, alongside footage of the movie inside another movie titled Spring of the Peninsula. Just like the last Korean film I spoke about, this movie is also likely long gone, due to the war. Although there isn't much more to talk about with this film, I think it's interesting that the film was heavily criticized due to tons of technical errors in the film, and the fact that the cast of the movies were lacking in the acting department. Bud Dwyer's death is a well-known suicide that was filmed live on air. Robert Bud Dwyer was the 30th treasurer of Pennsylvania and held a conference after he was convicted of conspiracy, mail fraud, perjury, and interstate transportation. The suicide itself is not lost, with the suicide being filmed in multiple angles. However, the entirety of the conference is still lost, with only minutes leading up to the suicide being found, and the rest of the conference still being lost. Popeye and Betty Boop's sex tape is a rumored short from 1938 that was shown once and never ever again. The short is similar to the Mickey and Minnie tape due to them both appearing at some sort of party. There are a few people that have claimed that this short was around in the 80s, but none of those sightings have been confirmed or not. The rumor of the short started sometime in 2003 when the story came to light, and as of 2023, 20 years later, the short has yet to be confirmed real or not. Mallow plush refers to the character Mallow from Super Mario RPG. Apparently Mallow, along with other characters from the game, came out as plushies as a set, and these plushies are extremely rare. But the rarest out of all of these is Mallow, with him only appearing once or twice. There is also a rumor that the character Gino also had a plushie, but no picture or post of this specific plushie has been found. Doraemon Robot Wars is a bootleg rip-off Doraemon film that was released in movie theaters in 1983. The film performed so horribly it was never given a home release. The only known proof of this film existing is from a few websites that provide proof and a short clip of the ending of the movie. The iRight Gamer game is an iOS game from 2013 that is a game based off the YouTuber The iRight Gamer, who is constantly viewed as a ripoff of the angry video game nerd. The game was a 2D platformer and was released on iOS with a price tag of $4.99, until being dropped to 99 cents after the game performed horribly and gained lots of negative reviews and attention. The game also appeared around the same time the Angry Video Game Nerds game came out, which added to the look that he was a ripoff of the Angry Video Game Nerd. Now keep in mind, I'm not saying he is a ripoff, I'm just saying what many people thought back when the game came out. Original Anaerobrious Hinicide image, also known as the Make Me Cute picture, is a disturbing picture of a pale white face, bloody eyes, and a bloody smile. The picture is used in memes and is also used a lot in the Make Me Cute challenge, where people must Photoshop the picture and make it cute. Much like the Jeff the Killer image, this photo was shrouded in mystery because the edited picture had no link to the original for the longest time, until a picture of a little doll was found. It looks like it could be a porcelain doll, but I'm not too sure. Although the original image is found, the image used for the eyes and mouth and the first ever post to use the picture has still yet to be found. Chris Chan is often given the name the most documented person on the internet, which is most likely not true, but it does show the popularity and known factor of Chris Chan. The black tape refers to a video or audio recording after a phone call that Chris got confirming the death of their father. The audio was never released due to privacy and respect. The audio apparently has Chris crying over the phone while talking about their dad. For those who don't know, back in the early days of YouTube, an account was created with the name 666. The channel ended up getting terminated, and for this, many people believe the channel had some very messed up things on it. The story of channel 666 got very popular, especially after a video titled Username 666 came out, that further fed into the idea that something sinister was behind the channel. However, due to how early the channel was made and how quickly it was taken down, there were no archives of the videos, if there ever were any to be archived in the first place. Cutie the Kitten is a cancelled video game that was created by the YouTuber Quiet Tomato. The game starred a kitten called Cutie, and was a third-person 3D PC game and was said to have a similar gameplay style to Doom, and was even supposed to have characters like Sans from Undertale in it. The game was cancelled and only 3 out of the 40 planned levels were ever finished. And only a few screenshots were shown, and the name Cutie Kitten wasn't the planned name, and as of right now the planned name for the game is unknown, and the full game was obviously never released. Hoy foi un día soleado, or known in English as Today's a Sunny Day, was a phrase spoken by a journalist known as Jacobo Savadowski. From what people claim, Jacobo said this at the beginning of one of his newscasts that was about the Mexican student movement, or also known as the Tlatelolco massacre that led to many disappearances and deaths, and the known death count is still unknown to this day. So someone claiming it's a sunny day when talking about a massacre is very unsettling. This, however, is an urban legend and not known for sure to be real or not, and all we have to go off of is what people claim they remember. Windows XP NES Bootleg is a supposed game that was made for the NES console to replicate and run Windows on the system. The game has not been dumped online, but a copy of the game was bought on eBay for just shy of $90, and this leaves many excited, hoping the game will resurface soon. As of right now, only a handful of screenshots exist proving the game is real. SNES Action 52 is an unconfirmed, unlicensed bootleg game for the SNES that was going to have 52 different games on it. Not much is known about the game, and no one knows if the game ever began development or not. Taiwan 2001 is a lost PC game from some time in the early 2000s to the early 2010s. The game was created as a joke or spoof of the game Hong Kong 97. Knowing that it was a spoof, it most likely had very similar gameplay to Hong Kong 97. The game was distributed for the Super Famicom and was on a floppy disk as well for a backup on PCs. The original download link has been found, but sadly is broken. Hello World is a type of program that is simple to code and displays the message Hello World, and is often the first thing people learn to program, and shows off if your website or code is working properly. This simple program could have been used for Wikipedia, but the legitimacy of this entry has never been confirmed. I don't have too much to say about this entry, not only because I couldn't find much on it, but also because I have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'm gonna move on to spare myself ridicule. Eric Harris was one of the shooters of the horrible Columbine massacre, and like many teens at the time, he played the game Doom, where people could not only play the game normally but also make their own levels. Eric ended up making a good amount of games, some of them of course becoming lost. Eric would show these levels to his friends or tell others about them. One friend claims that Eric talked about recreating the school as one of the levels, leading some to believe he was practicing the shooting in Doom, but this has never been confirmed. The Incel Project was an adult documentary series about mental health, the stigma of inceldom, life as an incel, and coming out as an incel. The series was posted every once in a while on blip.tv, however, besides the first 2 episodes being partially found, all other episodes are lost. The documentary was cancelled for unknown reasons, but many people claim it was because the director gave up and decided to scrap it. Another theory is that it had something to do with someone named Elliot Rodger, who went on a shooting spree, and some claim he was a part of the forums for this documentary, but this is also unknown. McDonald's is a huge business that started off pretty early on, and with tons and tons of commercials being made, some are bound to become lost. One of which is the McDonald's Archie dancing commercial from sometime in the early 1960s. Archie was McDonald's mascot prior to Ronald McDonald. The commercial has Archie dancing along a McDonald's countertop, and this commercial was proven to be real due to a plaque that is in the oldest McDonald's in California showing this commercial off. Someone ended up actually reaching out to McDonald's customer support, and in their response they stated that they do not hold all commercials in possession, so most likely McDonald's themselves don't even have this commercial. So the only way it could still be seen is if it was misplaced or recorded. Osama bin Laden was killed by the United States in 2011 and was quickly taken into their possession after he was killed. Pictures were taken of his body which consisted of multiple gunshot wounds. These pictures are definitely real, with the US even coming out and saying the pictures are in their possession and will never ever be released. This, alongside Osama's burial at sea, is just one of the few mysteries surrounding Osama and his death. Mario Knights was a supposed Mario game for the SNES, and was the rarest and most unknown Mario game to ever be made. The game has footage that has been shown that shows the intro of the game alongside some gameplay, but after a quick glance, it's very apparent this game is some kind of reskin or ROM hack of Super Mario World. The game had a much more gruesome and adult take, with gore being shown in the game, which is very out of place for a Nintendo-made Mario game. The game was confirmed as a fake by Nintendo themselves after someone wrote to Nintendo asking about the game. They responded claiming the game was never made by them, and after this, there was no doubt about it, the game was a hoax. The Awful Truth About Society is a public access TV show that aired at 4 p.m., but sometimes would air specials on Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. The show has aired from December 10th, 1994 to September 2015, when Emmett announced his retirement. The last known appearance of this show was in 2020. The show has many episodes. A lot of the lost episodes are from earlier on in the show, with the first and second show being partially found and lost, and episodes 5 to 78 are lost as well, with no one knowing where to track them down or where to view them. Not just these, but many more are lost too, with episodes 85 to 334 and episodes 336 to 449 also being gone as well. So well over a couple hundred episodes have yet to see the light of day, but knowing that this show ran for a very good while, I'm sure someone out there had to record some episodes or at least clips. Kurt's Bloody Suicide is a fan name or unofficial name given to a homemade film made by Kurt Cobain. The film has some pretty interesting stuff in it, including fake. The film was made in 1984 and was found in 2013. And I would try to flex right now and say that I'm from Aberdeen, the same place Kurt Cobain is from. But Aberdeen sucks. It's one of the most depressing places to live, so I can't really say anything good about this place. The Q source, or also known as the Q Gospel, is an unconfirmed collection of unmitigated sayings and teachings of Jesus Christ. The Q source will most likely never be found or proven real, mostly due to it probably never being written down. It stated that these teachings were passed down by mouth and was only told and said to specific people. The Secret Gospel of Mark, or known also as the Mystical Gospel of Mark, was a supposed longer version of the Gospel of Mark, that the only known proof of it existing is in the Mar Saba letter. As for what the Mar Saba letter is, it's a letter written out to someone named Theodore. The letter implies Theodore asks if there is a Gospel of Mark, in which the letter confirms that a second, longer, and more spiritual version of the Gospel of Mark was made. However, just like the Q source, this Gospel of Mark has not been confirmed real or not. Mario's Mission Earth, also known as Mario Planet Quest, was an SNES educational game, which would have likely been similar to Mario's Missing and Mario's Time Machine. The game was said to focus on planets and our solar system, and the only mention of the game ever is on the resume of one of the people who worked on the other Mario educational game, Mark Knight. "100,000 Satomu Miyazaki" is a phrase that was apparently spoken by a reporter who attended a manga and anime convention. For those who don't know, Satomu Miyazaki was a Japanese and serial killer who took the lives of multiple young girls. He was a pretty big fan of mangas and animes, which gave many people a negative light of these forms of entertainment. And at the convention, this reporter said there was 100,000 Saitama Miyazakis, which implies he was calling every single person at this convention a and a murderer. It's unknown if this ever actually happened or not, but if it did, that's so extremely messed up. To give so many people a label like that, for them simply trying to enjoy something they like. Homepage1.nifty.com/girls_fgames was an entry I struggled very hard with to find. Every search I did to find this website or topic brought me right back to the iceberg I was working on. I almost gave up until I finally found it. With use of the Wayback Machine, the link takes you back to a Japanese website, which at first I had no idea why it was on the list. But after browsing the game section, I found out why. Only 3 games are shown, and only 1 is finished, but the description of what kind of games are made is what really is messed up. The description is, "This site focuses on making unique games. We produce a wide variety of unusual games, such as a game where you stick sanitary napkins in your panties and a simulator. And I always try to create games that are highly practical." Not only is this description terrifying, but the second unfinished game shown is titled Azuki-chan House, and the description claims it's a sex game. One quick Google search later, and it turns out Azuki-chan is a main character from a manga series in Japan. And yeah, she's 12 years old. If you click on the image of the game, you download a zip folder with just the name Azuki's House. However, I am not opening that zip file, and I don't even want to dabble in that sort of thing, so I'm just going to move on from this entry. Lost Thunderbird photos refer to the Tombstone Thunderbird photograph, a picture of a huge bird attached to a barn wall, with the people who killed it posing in front of it. The bird was said to be discovered in 1890 in Tombstone, Arizona, and was described as a strange winged monster. Many people believe this bird to be the cryptid known as the Thunderbird. Many people claim to have seen the original photo of the dead bird, but the photo along with the bird itself has not been confirmed real. The Babushka Lady is a woman who can be found in multiple pictures taken before and during the assassination of JFK. In a few pictures, it appears the Babushka Lady is filming or taking pictures of JFK. Many people have tried to hunt this woman down but have failed, because these pictures would be new, never before seen pictures of the event. Besides her being a random person who just so happened to be filming, there are other theories that some people claim. One of which being that she was in on the assassination. Some think this because in pictures after the assassination, many people can be seen running and panicking, but the Babushka Lady doesn't seem too upset or worried. As of right now, no one knows why she was filming, if she was a part of the plan, or who she even was. On Christmas Day in 2009, the YouTube website was hacked, with many popular YouTube video thumbnails being changed. It's believed that this hack was done by a user known as MayAids or MeiAids. There was believed to be an actual video of this person as they hacked the website. However, no footage or picture has been found. Although the actual video of the hijacking has been lost, after people went to the Wayback Machine, many YouTube videos were found that showed very different thumbnails. So there is no doubt that the hijack did indeed happen, but the hacking video is still a mystery. Max Headroom lost footage refers to the infamous Max Headroom incident, a TV hijacking that happened in 1987, and has a man wearing a mask of the British TV character Max Headroom. The footage is very well known and has been well documented. The first hijacking happened during a news broadcast that is a bit less well known. The footage is a lot shorter than the second hijacking, and it's believed that there is audio that was meant to be used in the first hijacking that the hijacker never used, most likely to mask their identity. The audio will most likely never be released due to it either being lost or because the hijacker does not want to be caught, considering years upon years later the person wearing the mask is still unknown. Now They Hear It All the Time was a PSA about tinnitus that freaked many people out when it was first aired on TV. The PSA got this name by people due to it being said at the end of the PSA. The description given for the PSA was that there was a mannequin head, it involved flashing lights and different noises, and of course the phrase, "Now they hear it all the time," was spoken. The Iceberg claims that this PSA has not been confirmed, but it actually has been found. The video found matches up pretty well with the description given, and the re-uploaded video has only 3.6 thousand views. So it makes sense why many people think the PSA has been lost or unconfirmed. Nazi Club SpongeBob is a supposed 30-minute long YouTube poop that was so incredibly vulgar it was immediately taken off of YouTube, and the video is nowhere to be seen. The only reference of this YouTube poop being on YouTube is a post on DeviantArt that shows a description of the YTP and describes it was one of the worst cartoons they have ever seen in their life. Someone responded to the post saying that they too agree it was terrible, but besides this there's no other known proof of the YTP being real. The supposed creator and uploader of the video is Cool Leo King, but the only traces of this person online are inactive accounts that can't be used to get a hold of the creator. Osama bin Laden during his hiding was apparently doing a lot of different things. The US raided where he was hiding and took as many things as they could, such as hard drives, electronics, and anything else they could grab. It turns out that while hiding, Osama bin Laden was playing Animal Crossing, and the FBI found his save file, and it turns out he had his own town. The FBI obviously has never released this town, probably because there's really no need to do so, so his town has yet to see the light of day. Other games were found such as Final Fantasy VII, Half-Life, and even Counter-Strike. It's not 100% confirmed if these games were Osama's or someone else's who lived on the compound with him. No matter what though, the Navy SEALs collected some very strange things. The Real Barrel video refers to an old 2008 to 2009 video based off Mario and Luigi, more specifically the Luigi meme. Some footage has been found that shows the YouTube channel the videos were posted on, that is branded with pictures of Bowser. This is all that is known about these videos. Many people believe these videos to be the biggest reason the Ouija meme became so big. Donald Trump P-tape refers to a supposed video that shows Donald Trump sitting on a couch while watching prostitutes pee on a bed that Obama slept in. This is the most well-known description or theory about this tape. Others think it's a lot different, with Trump giving prostitutes a golden shower or the other way around. But there are a lot of popular theories. Trump has been asked about this tape, which he claimed it was fake news and never happened. But politics are politics, and we will never know for sure unless the footage comes out or it's proven to be fake. Albert Fish was a horrible man who was a cannibal and murderer, who is mostly well known for his murder of a 9-year-old girl named Frances, a 4-year-old boy named Billy, and an 8-year-old girl named Grace. These horrific crimes garnered him lots of different nicknames and labels, one of which being the most vicious child slayer in criminal history. After being caught, he was sentenced to death by electrical chair. Albert wrote multiple letters where he confessed to murdering the kids, and these can be found online. However, I suggest you don't look for them. They are very disturbing. It was said by Albert's attorney that before he was killed, he wrote multiple notes. Albert's attorney refused to release them, and so the notes have been locked away ever since. His attorney's reaction to the letters were that they were too vile for the public, and they were the most nasty and filthy things he has ever read or seen. Andrew Blaze Tapes refers to the YouTuber known as Pioneer Productions, who would create skits and other content for his channel. He was deeply in love with fictional characters and the TV show Danny Phantom. Andrew would eventually end up going to his job at a grocery store and killing 3 of his co-workers, and then taking life. The Tapes is a group of videos that he linked and posted online, along with other things such as his journals and digital sets. Many of these were lost due to his MediaFire account being banned, and any downloads being corrupted. But as of today, all of his uploads have been archived and can be viewed online. Issei Sagawa, or more well known as the Japanese cannibal, was a man who ended up inviting over a classmate, where he ended up killing her and eating her. It's stated that the Japanese cannibal filmed taking apart and cutting her body, but these tapes have never been released. Interviews with Issei exist, and he goes in great detail about what partook and what he did to her. A lot of it he ended up illustrating. Even though he confirmed he did kill her and there was proof he did what he did, he actually never ended up being sent to prison, and this was due to international laws and of course money. Issei became somewhat of a celebrity for a little while in Japan, but just not one painted in a good light. This attention made it impossible for him to get a job or to be treated nice at all. The tapes he filmed are said to be in the French police's possession and will most likely never be released. Jin is a Canadian YouTuber who is well known for her disturbing look on with many of her videos having her advocating for it and claiming it's a normal and good thing. She is also known for advocating incest, as long as it's with 2 consenting adults. After a few YouTubers went after her and called her out, Jin's channel garnered a huge amount of negative attention, and after her video was taken down, she deleted all of her other videos. As of today, only around 5 full videos are still available, and her others have yet to see the light of day. Useless.avi is a video that was from a website called Normal People, a website that was most definitely not normal. Some videos from the website include a video of a dog eating tons and tons of peanut butter sandwiches, a man licking his washing machine, and of course, Useless.avi. This video supposedly had a woman tied up on a bed. After a while, a man in a suit wearing a mask appears from behind a door, letting a chimp inside. The chimp then begins to strangle and mutilate her, and after she is dead, the chimp begins to eat her. The website is a myth or a creepypasta, and all of this is definitely fake, because I just don't see how any of this could be posted with no archive being created. There was a picture recreated to show what useless.avi would have looked like, and it's an interesting picture, but obviously fake. POL alien photo is a rumor of an alien photo being posted on multiple sites, including 4chan. After being posted, the whole 4chan website shut down for a good while, with many people thinking the alien image had something to do with it. A few people claim to have seen the photo before the site went down. They described the image as an alien with a tree in the background. The skin of the alien reminded them of a fruit or vegetable. It had two eyes that looked like dried prunes, black in color, located on the front of the head, where the face was under a brow ridge. The eyes rested in two shallow socket depressions on the face. They said the picture was shocking and made them feel physically ill when they looked at it, because it was so obviously real. Many people thought this to be one of the only proof of aliens existing, due to the detailed descriptions of the pictures, the fact that the second the picture was shown, it was taken down, and the terror and shock it left people. But after a while, it was proven this was all fake and never actually happened. Not just this, but you would think if so many people saw this picture, and everyone who saw it thought it to be real, you would think they would have saved the picture or screenshotted it before it was taken down, but I guess not. A mock-up of the image was made, and let me just say, it is actually one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I will show you guys the picture, but be warned, it is highly disturbing. Oh man. Hopefully my video does not get taken down for showing you guys this photo. SpongeBob Brazilian defecation broadcast refers to a supposed SpongeBob episode being shown in Brazil, with the brown note being heard in the episode. The brown note is a very specific piece of audio that once heard will make people defecate themselves. The story goes that at the time of the airing, many parents called whoever was airing the episode, claiming that their kids just crapped themselves after watching the episode. And just hearing the story, it should be very obvious that this is all fake. Not only because the brown note was proven to be not real, but even if it was real, why would every single parent think to blame the episode for their kid's bowel movement, let alone call hospitals or the people in charge of the airing? Nothing adds up with the story, and there's a reason this was proven to be fake, but I will admit it's a very funny story. Dennis 100 videos, I'll be honest about. I could not find anything about it. I did find some type of lost media about a supposed YouTube show called Dennis that had Charlie Puth in it, but this entry is labeled NSFL, which I highly doubt that YouTube show was anything dark or disturbing. I looked in all the places I thought I would find it, but there was just no luck. So please, if anyone has any idea or knows what this entry is referring to, please let me know. Mark L. Rawson's snuff film refers to a documentary called Snuff. The documentary talks about what people think of snuff films and why some believe they are real and others don't. More specifically, in the documentary, Mark L. Rawson is interviewed, and he goes on to describe a snuff film he was shown in great detail. The snuff film he is talking about is unknown to be real or not, so it's unknown if Mark is making the story up or if he truly did see this snuff film and he's telling the truth. Here's a clip of him describing the tape he saw.
Bag over her head, and you could tell she was beginning to gasp for air. And I know in S&M that they do that. They try and get to the point that they want to pass out or get to pass out, and at that point the orgasm comes, and supposedly they really enjoy it. But what was really disturbing with this film is, as she's struggling with the bag. She couldn't quite get her hands on it because he wouldn't let her get her hands on it. And you could tell she was going like that. He took his right arm was like that originally, and then he moved over and took his left arm across and under her chin, and the shot was so tight it zoomed in, and the shot was like from about here up, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's like this, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, his right arm comes there with a buck knife. He sticks her here, and he goes like that. And I mean, he's into her. Her head bent back just a little bit, and you could see an opening from about here to here, about this wide. It wasn't special effects. It was not what I considered adult entertainment. That's not what we were involved in. That's beyond comprehension. I actually stopped it there, and I got up, and I just left. I didn't see.
Mama Lisa is a rumored Simpsons episode that centers around Lisa taking an Italian class to make up for failing gym. The Italian class has a planned trip to Italy at the end of the semester that Lisa is excited to go on. The rest of the episode is about Bart trying to make Lisa not go to Italy because Bart doesn't want her to die. There's a lot of details on what the plot was about, and even some jokes and dialogue have came out that was in the episode. But even with all this information, the legitimacy of the episode is still unknown. And this episode is unknown to be a real episode idea or a fan creation. "5-hour video is such a general term that I had no luck finding what this entry could refer to. The fact that the iceberg refers to it as unknown doesn't help the search for it at all. So much like Dennis 100, if anyone knows what this is referring to, please let me know. Blue KFC refers to a video posted on the 4chan paranormal board. The video apparently shows real footage of a parallel world that shows a blue KFC sign. Ooh, spooky! Yeah, there is really no point to continue with this entry. This is very obviously fake and was probably just put on this iceberg as a joke. No video like this has ever been seen and never been made, and something as basic as a blue KFC sign can very easily be faked. Led Zeppelin's shark video refers to Led Zeppelin and his band, and a band known as Vanilla Fudge filming a porn that involves them shoving pieces of a shark inside their butts and The film was said to be made in Seattle, Washington in 1969. The film has been heavily disputed and no proof of the film existing has ever been found. This video has a few different names, such as the Mud Shark Incident and the Shark Episode. Although definitely fake, I feel like the only reason the film is still considered to be possible is because the late 60s were a crazy time. And honestly, I would not be surprised if someone out there tried to make a tape similar to this one at some point. Chechclear, also known as the Unknown Russian Soldier video, is a video that's stated to be 7 to 17 minutes long, but as of right now, only 16 seconds have been found. The video is a gore tape that shows a soldier having his and beheaded. The full video is said to have more information on who the man is, and why he is tortured, and who the murderer is. The most graphic and known thing about this clip is after the man's you can hear air escaping from his throat and windpipe. The video is very graphic, and I suggest no one look into it, because that just isn't the type of thing people should see. There has been a huge search for the full video to get justice on who the man is, but so far nothing has been found. ZippoCat is a very disturbing video that shows a gray kitten being pet and held by a man who was thought to be German. The video is roughly 4 minutes long, and after the man pets the cat, he then proceeds to light it on fire, burning it alive with a Zippo lighter. The video was posted in 2005 and was immediately taken down. Someone did end up finding the full video link, but never shared it due to it being illegal. When I first read this, I was very upset, but I do have good news. The owner of the website where the video was first posted tracked down the uploader of the video, which turned out to be a 15-year-old Belgian man, and the killer was a 26-year-old man who was also Belgian. A short while after the video was taken down, both men were found and both were arrested. Magayo videos are videos that are about the fetish of drowning. One of the most well-known of these is called Escape Artist Drowns in Bathtub. These videos are supposedly people fantasizing and being turned on by people drowning. However, most people believe these videos are faked and made by a man named Magayo from Japan. This is the only information that is known on these videos, and I do really hope they are faked. And thankfully, I think they most likely are. But the only way to know for sure is to find other faked videos made by this Magayo person. However, as of right now, no one has found any other videos. And there you have it. This video has been in the making for quite a while, and a lot of it is not for the reasons you may think. First off, I just want to say if you made it through the whole video, thank you very much. It means a lot. Second of all, this is completely unscripted, so if I ramble or I seem like I don't know what I'm talking about, then now you know why. But I just want to say thank you for watching the video. The reason this video has taken so long to make is because my computer doesn't know what it wants to do with itself. And sometimes it'll work amazing, and then sometimes it will take 5 days to export a video, and then not export it correctly, and then make me wait another week to export it. So, yeah, I did put a lot of effort into this video, mostly because I wanted to redeem myself from my last Lost Media video where, I'll be honest, I did make a lot of mistakes. Most of it was editing mistakes or things that were just stupid, like blurring the entire screen or something like that, but there was also quite a bit of misinformation in that video. So this is kind of supposed to be my way of fixing that. Hopefully it does alright. There's probably going to be a few mistakes in there because this is almost a 2.5 hour video. And unlike my other videos, I barely show any clips, so it's just me just knocking each entry down one after another. So hopefully I did alright. I don't want to ramble on for much longer. I just want to say thank you for watching the video, especially if you watch the whole thing. That means the world to me. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, so I'm just cut to the next. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys had a great day or night. And if this is the last time you come across my channel, I hope you have a great life. Thank you. Okay, I get it. The one thing I did not fix is the voice cracks. I apologize. I can't help myself. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know if... I think one nut is up here and then one's down here. I don't know what's going on. I apologize. Please, please.